Payment and Technology, Driving Safe and Accessible Gambling in Africa.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, that's more like it. Wonderful. We are entering a very nice topic around payment and technology. How can we drive safe and accessible gambling in Africa? How this is going to go, some house rules, is that we're going to try make it in rounds, but it's not a boxing match, so we'd like you to keep your gloves on and not engage in a sparring session, but we're hoping for a very fruitful discussion. I just want to introduce the panel, even though they might introduce themselves further. We have heavyweights on stage with us. As start, we've got Lungile Dukwana. He is the acting CEO of the National Gambling Board. In the online stage, it's been quoted that we are 1.5 trillion in turnover for 24-25 financial year, which has a staggering 60% of online betting. And obviously with that, it comes with the payment systems and the payment gateways that come with it. So that's a relevant discussion that we're talking about. And also he's spearheading the fight around making sure that we've got safe, fair, and licensed gambling. And there's little proliferation. It's the afternoon, forgive me. Proliferation of unlicensed activity. And also the outreach, around 3 million people for teaching. And I'm introducing these heavyweights, gentlemen, so that you understand the breadth and the length of what they're able to share with us today. Esther has been on a 26-year journey with the regulator in Kenya, spoke about this morning about an old, outdated legislation. Are we hopeful to see new improvements in your legislation? And how do they factor into the payment systems and what you're trying to do? We know Kenya very well as being a market that's leading innovation around the unbanked and those people that are not having access to normal payment systems. So we're very much looking forward to hearing about that. And then lastly, it's Dr. Johannes, can I call you Doctor? Thank you. It's Dr. Johannes Shimaneni. He's the CEO of the Lotteries Board of Namibia, an academic heavyweight, ladies and gentlemen, as well as having recently led a delegation to Ghana to try and benchmark. We very much would love to hear what are the learnings that they all come from. Let's all give them a round of applause just as they start. Now, round one. So, I'm going to start off with Esther. You know the old saying that regulation and digital technology is all about brakes and acceleration. One, the regulation can be said to be the brakes, and the technology can be an accelerator. Can you tell us, what have you seen in your space? What's winning at the moment, and what can we learn from that to say we harmonize the space that we're having technology coming through, but it's coming through in a responsible manner and giving us what we need in the gambling space? Esther.
Thank you for that question. There was a time the regulator was behind.
Yes.
So we had to put the brakes. And I remember when we were preparing, you said we come with a story.
Yes.
So the story is this. We had a game that was introduced, a crash game, and it came very quickly. We went through when it was proposed to the board, went through the proposal, I made sure it was certified, had the necessary certification until it hit the market. When it hit the market, it did not hit with the guidelines that were given. So we had people recruiting each other, and then there was a lot of hue and cry about the game itself when people did not understand it. And the regulator had to put a ban on its advertising, because we then saw that was really accelerating irresponsible gaming and a lot of complaints that came with the same. So after this, we again revised a bit the advertising guidelines in regards to this game. And since then, we have a level playing field, so to speak. And we are very careful to make sure we are not accelerated, and we put the brakes where we can.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks a lot, Esther. And can I move to you, Lungile, and just ask you, I know some of these topics are very close to your heart, and there is the previous panel that's come through. I'm not saying let's open the platform to respond to that, but are there particular points, pain points that you've seen around technology, even places where you've seen that, hey, we've got to put the brakes on? And in that space where you've put the brakes on, what are you seeing as the way forward to actually get in line with the market, as perhaps the colleague Esther has shared, where in terms of getting up to speed with what we...
All right, thank you. Well, of course, I was interested in the previous discussion, and it's a healthy discussion, because when you talk about the breaks and progress, each and every country has its own legislation. Mm-hmm. We can like it, we may not like it, but when it comes to us complying for that period, we must. But it does not mean you must close your eyes into the developments that are happening in the market. And part of the reason why you must not close your eyes, it's because you must be able to read the market, take your legislation, modified legislation so that you can be able to go forward. As it is now, you have to make sure that whatever kind of technology you adopt, whatever kind of the payment systems you adopt, are actually aligned with the existing legislation. And unfortunately, or fortunately, in South Africa, you have one legislation. It is actually the National Gambling Act of 2008. And what we have to do when we consider technology, it must assist us in making sure that that act is implemented, and is implemented in a way that makes sure it acknowledges the industry. If you look at the stats that you initially referred to, it tells you there is 60% of the GGR we have is actually coming from sports betting. Sports betting is what is allowed in legislation. That's a fact. Now, the technology becomes very helpful in making sure that that sports betting is functioning within the aspects of responsible gambling.
Yes.
It's functioning within the aspects of KYC. It's functioning within the aspects of monitoring to make sure that all that is happening there, it's assisting the punter. It's also assisting in making sure that we build a sustainable industry or market. Because we cannot have a situation where everybody says, because the legislation is not what we want, we're going to do what we like. So I think that we have a responsibility, all of us, to stay within the legislation. Where we are not happy with it, then there are two aspects. We challenge it, or we wait for the development or influence the development of the new legislation or progressive legislation that is going to assist us in moving forward. Let me leave it there, Chair.
Okay. Thanks for those anecdotes for now, Lungile. I want to point something and pin it in and say perhaps in the second round, we'd like to hear more around further issues, because if we talk about the national legislation, it was promulgated 2004, and some of the payment technologies and some of the payment systems existing now are not even envisaged in the legislation. So we'd love to hear more about what we're doing with the forward-looking arm of that part, but I'm going to pin it for now and move to Dr. Johannes Shimaneni and say, Last year in Feb, you went and took your people to Ghana to study the National Lottery Authority and how they run things. I'd like to know, what did you actually find, and what innovations and philosophies that you can come share with us about things that are going to help you to get to a point where you are driving that 100 million that you want in terms of your economy, and what payment technologies that you've seen then that are interesting you. Doctor?
Thank you, Bonga. It's very interesting that we are talking about payment system, because when I took up office in 2024, that was my motivation to visit Ghana, because Ghana have set up this integrated mobile money systems. And that's really, they run an economy, not just for the gambling, the whole economy is almost cashless. So whatever transaction that you do it online. And they've integrated with all the existing payment systems that are already existing. So which means that whatever betting platform you're running, you can plug it into their system and you can use it. And they are also partnered up with mobile service providers like MTN. And I think that platform, given that Namibia is very, very new to the lotteries, because just to give context, is that we have two different legislations, one for the gambling and one for the lottery. The one I'm representing is the lotteries. Now, the gambling has been existing for some time. The lotteries is upcoming, and sometimes maybe it's good to be a late bloomer, because then you pick up all technologies that are coming forward. So when I went to Ghana, one of the really key aspects that I've identified that give value to our operation is their payment system, in a way that it's designed in a way that even when you have digital platforms like where you use internet and all that, you can use it. But even for those ones that have phones that are not connecting to a network, they can still use data to actually through the USSDs to actually then be able to play and withdraw their cash out of their phones. So I think they have covered much of the platforms, looking at the digital divide between their populations, meaning that there are those ones who only have phone, they don't have smartphones, but they have access to a mobile phone, so they can use their short codes to play. And I think that's one of the platforms that I believe I've captured and I've brought home and trying to introduce. The other thing that are also now, apart from the payment system, they also have a very solid good cause platform, where the good cause is good because it's well developed, because it's sort of a platform that changed the narrative to say that lottery is not just a game of chance, it's a social development agenda that actually, also where the proceeds are used to take care of the vulnerable communities. That concept actually encouraged then people to participate. So it acts as a marketing tool so that people are encouraged to play more by understanding that this is the game. It's not just a game of chance. It also gives value. It gives value back to the communities. And lastly, which is also I've picked up at the platform, is that they have a system called the Callista's Draw. It's not a system, I think it's a draw that we used. But this draw is sort of a promotional draw where private entities can then showcase their products. I think that is a very good concept for business-to-business correlation, because if you look at private sectors and you talk about the space of technology, it's actually private sectors that drive innovation, that will help institutions to grow in terms of looking at what is new in the market, because they are profit-driven. They need to look at what is the best tools on the market to increase production and within an efficient budget. Now, one thing that we need to look at, in as much as technology is coming and it's moving very fast, it provides access to different communities or to different members of the community, meaning that I'm looking at the age of majority currently is the age of 18. And I could think that because there's access, people have smartphones, they can play anywhere they want. And I think that that could be a problem that we need to look at because now there's a lot of access and some people and expenditure become very higher and some communities may not be able to keep up with the velocity of the games that are being played because it may cause us more problems than solutions. So that's why, that's one of the things that I think that we need to look at and really maybe say for the gambling or for the gaming or lottering, maybe the age of majority should be raised to say 25 when the people have capacity to play and there should be a lot of responsible gaming activities incorporated within their legislations.
Thank you very much, Dr. Johannes. And getting back to Lungile, I know I gave you a first question to say let's pin it to, and now I'd like us to pick up on that discussion. Now add a little bit more on that to say, let's introduce the elephant in the room, crypto and blockchain currency, and specifically on the point that these are payment technologies introduced by people who have distrust of the government, who want the obscurity of anonymity with it. And taking the first discussion in this and say, where are we as South Africa right now? And obviously then taking us forward to say, where are we looking to make sure that not only the discussion that we're having about online is being handled, and also how are we regulating these technologies and making sure that we're moving forward in a safe manner?
Yeah, thank you. Look, I think that one of the important aspects about what we are raising is the issue of the legislation and these new developments, the crypto and other related stuff that you have. These are innovative systems that are welcome in the system. But whilst you welcome those in the system, you must make sure that they are used to advance the development of the system within that particular country, but are guided by existing legislative framework. Now, in this sense, we know that our legislation that we have now, there are some of the gaps and it's not according to the current realities. So some of the things may not be as accepted as in other platforms where they have the legislation that is according to the times that are not there. For now, we don't have prescriptions, we don't have frameworks that are enabling, for example, issues of crypto in relation to gambling. Now, what we should be striving for is to make sure that as we go on developing the online gambling policy, those issues should be covered there.
Yes.
Otherwise, the current aspects, you must consider the anti-money laundering legislation that wants to make sure that as people engage in that crypto as form of gambling or as aspects of payment for gambling, it's not something that is going to be used for money laundering. I think that's one aspect that is important. And in that aspect, what becomes important is also making sure that the relevant institutions you collaborate with to make sure that you deal with aspect of money laundering where they are actually happening. So there's no problem with those ones per se, but you must make sure that there are systems, there are frameworks that are going to assist those payment systems to advance the system that you actually have in the country, but are aligned with the policy, and we are able to move in a direction that is going to be aligning with the policy. For us, we think there's that. For example, what we have now on our site is what is called the NSEMS system. And that NSEMS system is what we are monitoring the limited payout machines with. And the capacity of that to deal with payment system, introducing the player protection systems and all of those kinds of things is actually there. It's that we have not optimized it to where it is supposed to optimize, because the framework must be developed, then we must align to that legislative framework and go on to fight about some of the things that are going to give us, for example, the issue of illegal gambling and offshore gambling that is going to be problematic to our space. Let me leave it there. I can see your hand.
Thank you so much. The only problem we have that we're fighting against is time, ladies and gentlemen. I would love to hear more. I would have loved to even hear about possible timelines around some of these issues of policy. I think the audience
I
would
can
have loved
promise
to.
you it's receiving attention. It's
Oh,
going to
okay.
be pronounced.
Wonderful, wonderful. Round of applause for that. And perhaps from Johannes and then lastly Esther, if you can just share anecdotes around the crypto and and those currencies, those payment methodologies, where you guys are at, and be brief because unfortunately we were given a bit less time. And yes, Johannes and then Esther.
Okay, thank you. Because in terms of legislation, the way technology is moving very fast. It's AI generated, but the question that we need to ask ourselves is that will our legislation be able to keep up with the advancement in technology? Because like in Namibia, sometimes to change a law, it takes a lot of time. Obviously, sometimes it's probably quicker when you change regulations, but it takes time. So now we need to rethink the whole setup, to look at, because technology is an enabler, meaning that the lotteries or the gambling or the gaming activities are already defined and controlled within the legislation. And then we need to find then a platform where we say that do we still have to go and regulate, for example, payment system, to say that every payment system must be in the legislation. So one have to rethink that. Currently, even as my legislation in Namibia does not talk anything about online lotteries. It does not talk anything about cryptocurrency. Now, cryptocurrency is a currency that is digital. It's just a bit different from the physical because now you transact via digital platform. Do we have to change legislation to regulate that? I think that's where we need to rethink.
Okay, thanks a lot, Johannes. And can I take you, Esther, as the innovators of Africa around these payment systems? What can you share with us as to what pain points the legislation should be touching at, perhaps to also cover what the colleague was talking about the length of time it takes to change legislation so that we remain nimble whilst we are allowing innovation to exist peacefully?
Thank you. Very interesting topic, and I think we are ahead. Last year, there was a bill that was passed on Virtual Assets Act, which incorporates all the currencies, including the crypto and all other digital currencies. So this act that was passed is what we want to see how that is going to be incorporated into the payment systems for operators in the industry. I know of some operators who actually give an option of how do you want to be paid your winnings.
Oh, okay.
And it's very interesting because now these currencies are being used to buy virtually anything, including street foods. So why are we framing it entering into the gambling market? It's already here.
Yes.
It's just how do we embrace it? My other curious thing would be, how will the taxation of it happen? Because our operator system are integrated. You must integrate with the Kenya Revenue Authority's system so that payments are deducted on real time. So when we come into digital, I'm curious to know, how will we translate to the taxation and how will that happen? So those are some of the things that we're grappling with, but I'm anxious to see how it will work. And operators are already asking, when are you going to allow us to start using digital currency?
Now, that's some very powerful insight there, and I think all of us can learn a lot from that. And just as a last round, I just want to take, as this last round, and say just one word to describe what keeps you up at night around payment technologies. I'm going to start with Esther. And it's one word, perhaps like a phrase that's got 4 words at best. Please.
In terms of payment, the latest I've seen is payments through, or rather participation through STK pushes.
Sorry, ma'am?
STK, it's, you get a notification to pay before you game. So that's the latest we are grappling with and seeing how it works. Because some are legit, some are not, so how to regulate that as well.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Johannes?
Yeah, for me, it's more of the online activities, because it's very difficult within a jurisdiction, to monitor online activities because the digital space is open. How do you then control to make sure that the government maximize revenue from at least those who are within your jurisdiction?
Yes.
Because people playing across different platforms now. That is something that really I need to apply my mind to.
Thank you, Doctor. And lastly, Lungile, try. One word, it
No,
keeps
for
you out at night.
Now, for me, it would be how do we optimize the payment technologies to create sustainable gambling industries that are within the legislation that each jurisdiction has.
Ladies and gentlemen, our esteemed panel, and thank you very much for such a fruitful discussion. I hope you learned a lot. I certainly did, and thank you, Program Director.